Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to episode 2 of FZwhY We're Doing a Podcast. I'm clearly cringing Dan out right now, but we've got to have this energy on a Friday morning as we go into Shabbat. Am I right, Dan?
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
Fun fact, me and Dan just realised we're wearing the same jumper. Love a bit of the same jumper. And yeah, I'm really excited to have Dan speaking to me this morning. You probably don't want to hear my voice anymore. So I'm going to ask Dan to tell us a bit about who is Dan Shomron.
Hello, hello. I am Dan Shomron, as beautifully introduced by Lucy. Um, I am now in my fourth year of university. I've been in FZwhY for 9 years now. That's a very long time. Um, I've never really thought about how long. Wow, that is a very, very long time to be in a youth movement, isn't it? Um, yeah. And just very excited to be here. I'm very excited to be on the FZwhY podcast.
That. So in your 9 years of FZwhY, what's the journey? What's the story? What's the highlight? Tell us.
We start in, I guess I was in year eight, 13, and oh no, 12 even. And I started with the North Manchester Chavurah, which it's sort of like the Noah, but for Manchester,
Yeah.
which is like the weekly meetings. And I went to that for the whole of high school, year eight to year 11. Then I went on tour, did Hadracha, did Dilla as well. Um, led my first camp in 2020. That was the day camp. That was extremely different to the usual camps, but a lot of fun either way. And then I led my first residential camp was 2021. I got to lead tour. Shout out tour 8. We um, had a great time on tour. That's probably been my highlight of FZwhY Journey has to be leading tour. Because that was just like the culmination of sort of everything in being in FZwhY for so long. And then it just sort of ended with me getting the opportunity to like do this whole 3 week journey, meet so many like young people who are clearly passionate about FZwhY, and it was just a lot of fun. I had a brilliant time leading tour. And then after that, I got to lead Dilla as second staff, which again has been insane. And this year, I guess I'm taking a bit of a break. I'm only leading camp, so not only, not
Well,
only actually.
hey, Dan, you're here the whole year, Dan. You're not going anywhere. You're not
That is
going
actually very
anywhere.
true. I'm going to be here the whole year. Um,
Exactly. No, I've
just
me
not
and
going
Dan are
abroad.
in the same year and we led tour at the same time. And I can
Yes.
confirm Dan is great. Great tour leader, great leader, just overall a mensch. So fun question. Not fun question, but question I want to ask you. Obviously, me and Dan are both from the north. So Dan's from Manchester and I'm from Leeds. But
Mm.
I'm going to show you an image and I want you to tell me how you pronounce it, okay? Don't know if that the viewers can see.
Ah, the old scone or scone
The
debate.
old scone or scone question, you know?
Oh, okay. See, my I actually don't know what's the northern way to pronounce this. If I'm fully honest, I don't know what the because we haven't really had them in my house. But my dad always used to say to me, they're a scone until you eat them, and then it's gone.
I've never heard that before. That is so interesting.
Because they're gone, they're gone. Um,
Such a dad joke.
yeah. So I always call them a scone. I'll just from that, I always just call them a scone because I'm like, well, I'm not eating it yet, so
See,
it's a scone.
I always call them scone.
There you go. I don't
They
know. I never really think deep about it, admittedly. But just because the only way I think about it is with that joke, which
I
is
like that. I might start using it.
it's a fun one. I don't know.
Fun one. Okay,
Uh,
cool. Well, just wanted to clear that up. Really interesting.
I
Um,
feel
so then today's main part, what we're going to be speaking about, me and Dan were kind of speaking, I think on these podcasts, we want to speak about what, who we bring on is interested in loads of different topics, whether that's fun, maybe more educational, but and me and Dan today decided we're going to speak all about prayer, and not in a boring way, in a controversial way.
I have a lot to say about prayer, actually.
Dan
Yes.
has a lot to say about prayer, which is why we're bringing you a podcast on prayer. So I'm going to ask, do you think prayer is the best way or a way to connect to Judaism?
It's definitely a way. I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of different types of Judaism. That's the first thing that needs to be recognized. And there's a lot of different ways in which people pray, a lot of different ways in which people feel like there's a lot of different ways in which people feel like they need to connect to Judaism. And I think prayer is a very interesting one because a lot of the time people will say they're connecting to Judaism through prayer, when in fact they're connecting to Judaism via going to synagogue or going to shul, and meeting up with the community and having a nice kiddush after, in which they're able to, get along with the rest of the Jewish community and the rabbi. I don't know how much people say that they connect to prayer, they connect to Judaism via prayer directly, because how much would they be connecting if they were simply doing it in their room at home? I definitely don't think that's true for the more religious Orthodox. I think, but I think for myself or for the sect that I'm from, which is very secular Orthodox, I don't know how much Jews would connect directly via prayer, and I know that I don't. I know that I personally just don't connect via prayer. And I'm talking more about the classical prayer, the one that's in the Siddur in Hebrew, stuff like that. I don't mean sort of like waking up and thank you God sort of thing. Like speaking it in English, making your own prayers. I'm talking about the classical prayer though. Yeah. I guess my answer would just be no. I don't think I don't think I can directly connect to Judaism via prayer.
So on that, do you think, I guess everyone's different, and prayer wasn't always around. Like, it was sacrifices, temple sacrifices back in the day. But and it obviously evolved to prayer. So, and obviously the world's still evolving. Is prayer still relevant in the modern world, do we think?
Again, it absolutely can be. I think what's the point in having a God if you can't communicate to them? If you feel that you can't feel somewhat close to them, there may not be a point, or even. I think there's a lot of like you said in the past, it used to be sacrifices. These are all just different methods of communicating to God. I guess my main problem with prayer is that it is, or again, classical Jewish prayer, is that it is all in Hebrew. I don't speak fluent Hebrew, and I think there's plenty of diaspora secular Jews who don't have a clue, who can barely read the letters, and I think there's plenty, and I think that what's saying all these words in Hebrew really doing in their connection to God. As much as I can wake up and say the Shema, I don't know what the Shema means. I don't know what I'm saying here. Or I could wake up and say, thank you, Hashem, for letting me wake up this morning. That's me communicating to God directly, and that's what I know what I'm saying. If I'm simply reciting the words of the Shema, I can recite them off by heart. I learned them in primary school. I can read the Shema with my eyes closed, but I don't know what I'm saying.
I know. I get that. It's a weird one. It's like, you're reading these words in Hebrew, and you don't know what they mean. You don't know what you're saying unless you speak obviously fluent Hebrew. But I suppose on the flip side of it, is there that, like I know as a Jewish person who's not fluent in Hebrew, I feel connected to when I hear Hebrew, or like I say a sentence in Hebrew, I suddenly feel there's something there, even like, and I think I can see like both sides of it. It's like, you know, whether it's a connection or not, but there's still that feeling to the words in Hebrew. Is that something you think people feel connected to because it's Hebrew and it's, you know, Jewish and it's the language of in the state of Israel, or is that connection to God, or is it to prayer, or is it to, you know, do you think it's more to their like identity as a Jewish person?
I think the existence of Hebrew, like, and learning Hebrew is definitely connects you to Judaism and Israel. Israel directly because it's the language, but Judaism just because, like you said, it's a holy language for us. Biblical Hebrew especially, like it's a very uh, it is a very holy language. It's very important for us as Jews to learn Hebrew for that reason. Um, for that reason of knowing how to speak to God almost because as we do believe in Jews that Hebrew is a holy language. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that it defeats the point of prayer by making us say it in a language that we don't understand.
Mm.
I think the analogy I always think of is like a parrot. If I can teach a parrot to say "I love you," um, and I can teach the parrot that it's meant to say that when I give it its food, but it still doesn't know what it's saying. It knows maybe that I don't know the exact biomechanics of a parrot, um, but it knows that it's and the parrot will know that but the parrot doesn't know what it's saying
Mm.
at the end of the day, and that's what I feel like Jewish prayer is. That all we know is that we're being appreciative. We don't know what we're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a really interesting analogy. I actually haven't heard that before. I think that's an interesting analogy.
Mm.
So I'm gonna kind of ask a couple like one question's a bit moving away from prayer, but one's kind of keeping, I suppose. Firstly, like, do you think this kind of prayer will always be around, like similar how it wasn't and it's come around, or do you think there's, as the digital world, I guess, is evolving, do we think there'll be a new prayer, if that makes sense?
Definitely could be. I think it's all about your form of communication in a sense. I think prayer is constantly uh evolving, to be fair. I mean, I was thinking about this morning actually. We've just had Yom Kippur, right? Yom Kippur was this
And that's
week.
that, everyone.
Yeah. And Yom Kippur is the one day of the. I'm a very secular Jew. There's a lot of Jewish laws that I interpret very differently, or I simply don't follow because I don't believe in them. But Yom Kippur I keep to a T. I won't use my phone at all. I won't use any electricity. Won't eat, won't drink, etc. Won't write anything, and that's because Yom Kippur's Day of Forgiveness. I'm meant to be sacrificing a lot of things,
Mm.
for the sake of showing my humility.
Mm.
And I think inherently that could be a way of praying. The fact that I'm not eating is a way of me saying, "Forgive me, God." The way of me, yeah, not eating, not drinking, actually like turning all my electronics off, being bored for the day, not being entertained, anything like that. It's part of me showing my humility of "Forgive me, God," and that's in a lot of ways what we're saying via our prayers. I think you can show "Thank you, God" via um, volunteering, for example. That's just the first thing that's popped to mind. And that I think that prayer could very much evolve from words into actions. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Maybe it could evolve another way as well,
I
but
think
that's the way I'm thinking.
yeah, I think that's really interesting, and I think obviously, hopefully, we'll be here to see where it evolves. Not sure we will,
Hmm.
but um, who knows? I mean, kind of the last question I want to ask on this main section. It's a bit of a big one. You might not be able to give. I think it's a very hard question, but you know, when you're looking, people, as you said, people pray in English as well, and people pray in biblical Hebrew, and it's all these different types of prayer. Okay. And I've had the question, I don't know if you had, I've had the discussion so many times when leading programs and, you know, open spaces, all these things we do on FZwhY of, you know, how can I pray to God when something bad has happened to me? Right.
Ooh.
You know, I pray to God, but this has happened to me in my life. And it's that whole question of, you know, there's evil in the world, but God still exists, right? It's similar kind of thing. But, you know, that I've seen that just come up so much in discussion of, you know, what's the point of praying if the bad things still happen to me? And I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
What's the point in praying about? Well, I think that I think it defeats the point of sorry, did you say cut out a bit then?
Sorry, the connect. Okay, there we
No,
go. Connect
okay,
back. We're back.
we're back. We're back.
We're back.
Yeah. So if I understand the question correctly is how much can I pray when these bad things still happen despite me praying? Is that yeah? Well, I think that defeats the point in a sense. Like inherently asking that because part of the point in praying is that you're showing your faith in God. God is above. This is how we communicate to Him. We're not we're not praying God give me a new bike for my birthday. We're praying God look after me, make sure that I'm okay. And maybe there's plenty of ways in which God is looking after us in like that we don't realize. Maybe you I don't know off the top of my head. Maybe you're walking down the street and you drop your ice cream. But the fact that you dropped your ice cream meant that you stopped for a second and didn't get hit by a car. Maybe that's the way that God's looking after us. But all we notice is that we've dropped our ice cream and we sat there thinking, why has God let this happen?
That's
So I think
big
in a
question.
lot of ways, I think in a lot of ways, by sort of saying, well, God, why are you not helping me out here? It's sort of you're losing your blind faith. Well, you're not even blind faith, you're losing your faith in God. So stop praying, you know. What's the point in praying if you don't have faith?
I mean, I feel like me and Dan could go back and forward for hours on prayer and loads of there's so much on it. If you want to talk more, reach out to Dan, reach out to me. We could talk about it. It's a great topic, very interesting.
Absolutely.
For our last section of today's pod, it's called FZwhys and woes. Okay, so it's our agony aunt style section. Which we can both answer. We can see if we agree. So I asked on the Instagram story for questions for me and Nan. We've taken a few of these questions. I'm going to answer them. So starting off light, some of them are a bit deeper than others. Best city in Israel.
Ooh, best city in Israel. My mind jumps to Herzliya because
Okay.
we used to holiday there a lot as a kid. And I just really like it there. The beaches are beautiful, pit is beautiful. There's a nice shopping centre. There's nice. I can't remember too much off the top of my head, but I just loved it. I always used to love it there. What about you? Go on.
Do you know what? It's really tough between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, which I feel like is like a classic debate.
Yeah.
Not to. I love Tel Aviv as a young person. I want to be there the whole time. But I love Jewish culture in Jerusalem. And seeing like Jewish pride. I feel that strongly in Jerusalem. Probably right now in my life, I would say Tel Aviv. Which I'm sorry to be basic.
Tel Aviv bangs. Tel Aviv, it's great there. It's absolutely great there.
Get me back. Anyone want to pay for my flights? Let me know. Okay.
These.
The next question. I've just started freshers at university and I'm so exhausted. How do I tackle a social life and my university work?
Oh, the age-old question. Um, See, when I was a young fresher back in those olden days, um, wow, I have no clue how I did that now that I think about it. I think it was mainly just organization. I think it's very different per person. Setting good time boundaries is always a good idea. Usually, I say to myself, right, 7 p.m., no working after 7 p.m. Um, or you could say no working on Saturdays or something like that. Um, and then that way, you know that post 7 p.m. you're socializing and vice versa before 7 p.m. I'm working. I guess this less applies if you like live on campus or something, but I'm someone that can't work at home. I have to work. I can't like work at my desk in my bedroom for some reason. Um, so usually what I do is I'll say, okay, I'm on campus 10 till 5 today, 10 till 4. I'm going to get all my work done then, and then I can go home and watch TV or something like that. Um, that's my general like advice for that. Maybe generally just organization. Time slot your days. This hour I'm going to be doing work. This hour I'm going to be socializing, and then it falls into place anyway, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I remember being a fresher back in the day. Um, and it does just fall into place. You've got no idea what's going on in the first month of university, let's be real. What's going on, who's
Absolutely.
who, where, what are you doing? You know, you're like, what am I doing with my life? But it just does fall into place. And also, you know, enjoy it. Like there's
Mm,
like, I'm looking back at it now and it's the best 3 years of my life. And you know, work hard, but also, you know, enjoy yourself, go out, have fun, meet people, have a to-do list, as Dan said, you know, set those reasonable boundaries with yourself. Um, and make sure you have that balance. You know, maybe you can't say yes to everything. Maybe you can't go out 5 times that week with 5 different people. You might have to go out 3 times that week because you've got deadlines, like whatever it may be. It's having that balance and making sure you're organized. If
I think as well, yeah, with the first year, enjoy yourself. This is your time to socialize, if anything. Like, obviously first year's not easy, but meet people, have a good time. Second year is only gonna get harder. Just enjoy yourself. Have a nice time.
100%. And if like there is anything you want to reach out to anyone at FZwhY on the movement team, even Dan,
Mm,
reach out. We're always here for a chat, always help out, give our
absolutely.
advice. Okay, we've got 2 more questions. Next one. I'm too scared to sign up to JSOC as I don't know many Jewish people. What should I do?
Sign up to JSOC. Um, yeah, I mean that's just what I'd say. This certainly applies to any university society because the vast majority of them want to grow. They want to meet people. They want as many like-minded people as possible. Um, like just sign up on the first day, go to the first few events, um, put yourself out there. It's daunting. You need to have a lot of confidence. You need to have a lot of confidence. You need to have that boldness to just go up to people and be like, "Hi, I'm Dan. What's your name? Where are you from? Tell me about you," sort of thing. I think uh, JSOC is a lot easier because the likelihood is you'll know someone in common. But
Jewish
um,
geography played in the first 10
Ju-
seconds.
yeah, the first 2 weeks of JSOC is essentially just Jewish geography. Um, but yeah, just have that confidence. People want to meet you. I remember actually my first week of university. I was very, very nervous to meet people. Um, and I didn't really go to any societies. And then one of my flatmates just said to me like, "Oh, I was feeling the same way," but then but then I just remembered um everyone else is in the same position. Everyone else is nervous to meet people. Everyone else is a fresher. Everyone else wants to meet people. It really helped. Yeah.
Yeah, I know like this is just a quick anecdote, but I really wanted to join boxing society in second year. I wasn't even a fresher at this point, and I had no friends. And I remember I went with two friends, and they enjoyed it, but they didn't want to carry on. I was like, I really want to carry on. I was like, I'm just gonna go. Ended up making three friends. We went for dinner a couple of times, and what you put into university, you'll get out. So just go for it. It might work out, or you might think, oh, I don't want to do it, but at least you've tried it and you've given it a go. Okay, so our last question of FZwhys and woes, cry, is I'm dating someone and they are not Jewish. How do I tell my mum, as I think she'll be disappointed?
That's
So
a
this
hard
is
one.
the question, and I think the main part of the question we're answering here is how do I tell her? I think it's always important to be open and honest. And if it's something you care about and you're happy with, and that's the path you want to take in life, and that's what you want to do in your life, then you want to have people in your life who are involved, then it's best to just be open and honest. And the people in your life should also want to be there regardless of the decisions you make.
I completely agree. I think if you're in love with someone, obviously this is a very preliminary. You've just met someone, you're just starting to date someone who's non-Jewish. But if you do really see a future with them at the end of the day, I think you're at least I know my parents would be very supportive. Very I know for them that what matters is that I'm happy. Um, whether or not they want me to marry Jewish, they mainly just want me to be happy. And I don't know what other people's parental situation is like, but I think that's the case for a lot of parents. They just want their kids to be happy. They want them to meet someone that they love. And if that person just happens to be non-Jewish, then so be it. That's how it is for several people. That the person that they fall in love with is non-Jewish.
Yeah, and I think
But
remember, like, your parents love you and they just want what's best
mm,
happy, and and it's good to just be open and honest and face that conversation if it is a struggle for you. And if you do want any further like help on that, like, obviously reach out to FZwhY, pluralist movement, so we accept all sorts of things.
mm.
Um but yeah, and that was kind of our last question on FZwhys and woes. Really sad. Keep asking questions when I post Instagrams, guys, because gets the conversation going. Dan, thank you so much for coming on FZwhY We Doing a Podcast. It has
Thank
been
you for having me.
it. You're a mensch. It's been a pleasure. I wouldn't have wanted anyone else here. Um, and yeah, thank you so much. And
I had a great time. I had a great time.
Dan Shomron 2023 had a great time on the pod.
Would only
And
recommend.
the only recommend coming on, you want to come on, reach out. But that's all from us. So
Absolutely.
peace and love.
Had a brilliant time. Bye bye.
Bye everyone.